So our next section is 7.6 applications. It's just looking at what we just did with solving equations, but now we have to write the equation ourselves first, and then we're going to solve it. So a truck driver drives 60 miles on 8 gallons of gas. At the same rate, how many gallons of gas will it take him to drive 120 miles? So I'm going to do miles on top and gas on the bottom. And the reason that I make that label is so that I can make sure that I'm consistent when I start plugging stuff in. I want to make sure I keep miles on top and gas on the bottom. So 60 miles on 8 gallons of gas. 120 miles, we want to know how much gas that's going to be. So I have a proportion. I want to cross multiply. And I get 60x is equal to 8 times 120, which is 960. And then to solve, I'm just going to divide both sides by 60. And I get x is equal to 16. Now really I didn't need to do all that for this problem because we doubled the amount of miles, so you're going to have to double the amount of gas that you use. But they're not all going to be that straightforward, so that's why I wanted to make sure I wrote it out. So those are proportions. That we set up. This next problem is called a work problem. And the thing about work problems is if you have people working together or machines working together, then it's going to shorten the job. So the way we set these up is 1 over A plus 1 over B equals 1 over T. So that's the equation that you're going to have to use. And what it means is it takes person A this long to do that one job. B, it takes that long to do that job, and then working together for that one job. This is what I want to solve for, is what is the total time. So it takes Susan 1.5 hours, so I get 1 over 1.5. And Bob, it takes 2 hours, so 1 over 2, and it equals 1 over T. So I need the LCD so that I can get rid of these fractions and multiply it out. So I'm just going to multiply 1.5 times 2 times T, and that's my LCD. Just multiply those denominators together. So I'm going to do 1 over 1.5 times 1.5 times 2T plus 1 over 2 times 1.5 times 2T equals 1 over T times 1.5 times 2T. So remember, all these are just over 1. So the first one, the 1.5's cancel, and I have 1 times 2T is 2T. Here the 2's cancel, and I get 1 times 1.5 times T, which is 1.5 T. And then on the other side, the T's cancel. 1.5 times 2 is just 3. So now I'm able to solve this. I can add these two like terms. 2 plus 1.5 gives me 3.5T is equal to 3. And then I'm just going to divide this out to get T by itself. So I can see it's going to take less than an hour with both of them working together. And I'm just going to round this, write it as a decimal and round it. So I'm going to round it to 0.86. So again, it takes them less than an hour with the two working together. So the problems that you're going to be solving in this section are work in proportions. Alright, if 20 patients can be seen in 8 hours, how many in 3? So I'm going to put patients on top and hours on the bottom. So 20 patients in 8 hours, and we want to know how many patients in 3 hours. Again, I'm going to cross multiply, and I get 60 equals 8x. And then to get x by itself, I'm just going to divide both sides by 8. And what did I do wrong? 60 divided by 8. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I was like, did I do something wrong? No. So if 20 patients can be seen in 8 hours, then 7.5 patients can be seen in 3 hours. Alright, our next one, we have 2 brothers share a house. It would take the younger brother working alone 45 minutes to clean the attic, the older brother 30 minutes. So if they work together, so 1 over 45 plus 1 over 30 equals 1 over t. So my LCD, I'm just going to multiply all those together. This isn't going to be the lowest because I could figure out what's the least common multiple of 45 and 30. But it really doesn't matter because we're going to divide it out and simplify it anyways. So each one of these terms, I'm multiplying by 30 times 45 times t. So every single one of those terms has to be multiplied by that. This first one, the 45s cancel, and I'm left with 30t. This next one, the 30s cancel, I'm left with 45t. And on the other side, the t's cancel, and I have 30 times 45. I'm going to multiply those together, and I get 1350. Add like terms, we get 75t equals 1350. And then lastly, I need to divide by 75. So if the 2 brothers are working together, it's only going to take them 18 minutes to clean the attic. So again, this is another work problem. Next, we have, if it takes a painter 6 hours to paint a room and another worker it takes 4 hours, how long if they worked together? So 1 over 6 plus 1 over 4 equals 1 over t. Our LCD is 6 times 4 times t. So that's what I'm going to multiply each term by. 6 times 4 times t. So the first one, the 6's cancel, I'm left with 4t. The second one, the 4's cancel, I'm left with 6t. And then on the other side, the t's cancel, 6 times 4 gives me 24. So I get 10t is equal to 24. Divide by 10. And it's going to take 2.4 hours if they're working together to paint the room. And then the last one is another proportion. We have the turkey, and then we're talking about how many people it feeds. So again, I like to put my label over there. So a 16-pound turkey feeds 18 people. How many people does a 4-pound turkey feed? So I put turkey on top, so the 4 has to go on the top and an X on the bottom. And I can cross multiply. 16x equals 18 times 4. So we get 72. And then to finish it out, just divide both sides by 16. And so that 4-pound turkey is going to feed approximately 4.5, or maybe like 4 adults and a child, however you want to think about it. But those are what the only application that you're going to be responsible for are the work problems and the proportions.